Welcome to Inside Edition, where we discuss national, regional, and international issues in depth. The healthcare sector in the Kingdom of Bahrain is witnessing constant development and progress on various aspects through its several entities. The National Health Regulatory Authority is one of those leading institutions that works on providing safe, trusted, high-quality healthcare to the people of Bahrain, as it regulates the healthcare system to ensure providing best services in line with international standards of efficiency and effectiveness. To know more about NHRA's or Nahra's role and achievements, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by the CEO of Nahra, Dr. Mariam Al-Jalahma, right after this. Welcome back. Joining me in the studio is the CEO of the NHRA, also known as Nahra, Dr. Mariam Al-Jalahma. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the Inside Edition. I'm happy to be with you.
Dr. Mariam, one of the things that have happened over the past years is that Nahra has been in the spotlight, especially with the pandemic and everything that's going on. Nahra, for healthcare providers, for us, we know what it is, but the awareness has really became stronger during the pandemic. So since its establishment in 2010, the National Health Regulatory Authority has been a leading entity in the healthcare sector in the kingdom. Can you give us an idea about the Nahra, its establishment, as well as its main visions, mission, and as well as values?
NHRA actually was one of the important goals in the 2030 vision, where Bahrain should have an independent regulator that regulates the health sector, aside from the Ministry of Health, that is considered the provider of the healthcare. And that's where the law was established by His Majesty the King in 2009, and then the National Health Regulatory Authority, where we call it the NHRA, established in 2010. The main mission of, as established in the law, is to regulate the provision of the healthcare sector in Bahrain, to ensure high efficacy, safety, and effectiveness, both in the private and the government sector as well. And this should be based on the best scientific principles according to international standards. So we basically regulate the health sector in terms of licensing and accrediting hospitals, licensing professionals working in those hospitals, licensing the medicines and medical devices used by those professions in the health sector, as well as accrediting clinical trials, continuous profession development program. And on top of that, we also conduct hearing for medical errors and take disciplinary action.
When we talk about the Nahra, it's actually a multidisciplinary institution that provides services, especially to healthcare providers, but not only to healthcare providers. Can you tell us about the various departments that the Nahra, or that establishes the Nahra, and what the services are that are provided by it?
Sure. So the unique thing about Bahrain's regulation system is that it is all under one roof. So in many countries you might find the licensing of professionals under one entity, while the hospitals under another entity, drugs under another entity. But in Bahrain, it's all under one roof. So we have the section that regulates the healthcare facilities, in terms they are hospitals, clinics, centers, or allied health units. And so they give them the license when they want to operate, and we make sure that they are according to the standards issued by NHRA in terms of technical, engineering, and safety standards. And then we have the section for regulating the healthcare professionals, where all professionals want to work in Bahrain. They should be licensed by NHRA, and we make sure that their qualification and certificate are genuine and there is no counterfeit certificate. So that's why we really care about the safety of the patient, and that's our vision, is safe and high quality healthcare services. The professional, the pharmaceutical regulation department that regulates the medicines, and then we have the medical device section that regulates medical devices as well. Medical devices are as important as medicines. We have to make sure they are accurate when they diagnose or they treat patients. And then we have the clinical trial and continuous medical education department. We have the accreditation department, and the complaints where we receive patients' complaint, or even reports from the facilities on incidents and also low cases.
Right, right. Well, when you have an institution with all of these services under one roof, it is regulating, or it regulates itself as well. So when it comes to the support from the government in order to give it that kind of background power, people to know what this institute is all about, how do you value the support that is provided by the Bahraini government to facilitate and develop the healthcare sector through Nahra?
Of course, any investor coming to Bahrain to operate a healthcare facility, number one, they need to see the regulations.
Right.
And where they will be accredited or regulated. It's very important that all the laws and regulation are published, transparent, policies and procedure there. That's why that's the important step to support the healthcare sector, is to develop an independent regulator.
Right.
That's the first step that the government of Bahrain took. Of course, any investor or any person who wants to know about NHRA, everything is published on our webpage. Even medicines, list, prices and agents, healthcare facilities, all you need to know about, even approved medical devices. The second step, the government supports the healthcare sector. Of course, we want to have a well-regulated healthcare sector.
Right.
That's the role of NHRA. NHRA there is not to take just violation and disciplinary action. It's there to help and improve the health sector performance. This is a big reputation for Bahrain, especially that we are thinking of implementing health tourism plan. Of course, there are other bodies that support the healthcare sector in terms of the Economic Development Board, where they can help the investors search for locations or partners. We have Tamkeen that supports the new facilities for, they sponsor up to 40% of medical devices, the training of the staff, salaries of the staff even. I mean, this is very unique to Bahrain. Imagine if you employ, as a facility, you employ a Bahraini, you get 70% of the salary supported by the government in the first year, and then 50% in the second year, and 30% in the third year.
Right.
So there's a lot of support to the healthcare sectors in terms of encouraging investment to come to Bahrain.
Absolutely. When it comes to supporting the healthcare sector in Bahrain, part of that support are, of course, conferences, collaborations, internationally, globally, regionally. Can you tell us about how important these kind of collaborations are?
Yeah, of course. I mean, not only we're talking about investment in developing healthcare facilities, but even supportive services. Right. Like we have established or under regulating the medical laundry, which is very important for medical service. Waste management is very important. And then comes the training and conferences. Since the regulation issued by the Supreme Council, which is considered our management board, that any professional that is licensed and need to renew their license, they should have specific CME hours. Yeah. And those CME hours, they are either generated internally in the facility itself through their internal activity, but of course, conferences, workshops, seminars, and that regulation really brought up a lot of investors to open companies in conducting or organizing conferences, which we even at NHRA contracted with them to make sure that what we want to be delivered to the healthcare is there, like in terms of what are the licensing requirements and accreditation, which improves your quality, infection control, waste management, and so on. So those centers or companies really become encouraged because it's also regulated by the law, and we at NHRA look at what their programs, and we accredit them the hours. So any professional wants to attend those conferences will know that for example, a conference carries out 30 hours of CME. Right. So you add them then to their record, like the data flow basically, and that's how they will get the next license. Well, you talked about waste management, you mentioned education, all of these are part of sustainable development goals. Can you tell me how the NHRA basically regulates and contributes to achieving the national 2030 sustainable development goals? Of course, if we look at the goals related to the health sector, it's mainly goal number 3. And although goal number 3 talks about the right to get all the health and universal health coverage and providing health care But really, when you want to look at healthcare, you want to make sure that this healthcare services are provided safely and are well regulated. Also, goal number 3 looks about the availability of medicines, proper medicines and vaccines. So the role of NHRA is to ensure that the medications and vaccines brought to Bahrain are well established, have good manufacturing product certificate. We make sure that they are of high quality and safe. And that was our role during the COVID-19 pandemic, and up till now. Not only we were making sure that the facilities are taking the measures that issued by the National Task Force, but also we looked into medications to help treat COVID vaccine and give emergency use authorization. Vaccines, the different vaccines. So far, Bahrain approved 6 vaccines. So it was a big role for us as well.
Definitely, and one of the very important roles that are played is when there is some kind of remission of medication, you provide also different medication alternatives, but everything is always available in the market no matter what.
So it's basically very important to make sure that patients have access to medication. We have been working so hard with agents that even if the original manufacturers are not there, to bring alternatives.
Valid alternatives.
Valid alternatives, of course. We have been given some facilitation to encourage them, like we decrease the requirements so that you bring them, or the agent can bring them and then continue the registration process to ensure that these medication are of high quality.
Yes, definitely. Well, in performing its duties, the NHRA does deal and cooperate with various local and international institutions. These collaborations have gone on for many years, and they have become stronger over these years. Can you tell us about them, and how do they contribute positively to achieving the aspired goals that the NHRA has set for themselves?
Well, the first thing we did is sign 3 contracts with our partners in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because they were a little bit far ahead before NHRA was established. So we signed with the Saudi Food and Drug Administration a contract to exchange information about medication and prices and so on. And then we signed with Sibahi, which is the authority or the center in Saudi Arabia for accrediting facilities, and with the also Saudi Specialty Institute that grants professionals the licensing, like NHRA. So we signed 3 contracts, and we're working with them closely. Of course, we follow World Health Organization regulations in terms to the counterfeit medication and medical devices as well. But the most important thing I see that we really work very closely with the GCC Central Office that follows the Ministers of Health Council, and we have members in each committee in the registration of medication, pricing of medication, medical devices, all the aspects, and also with the GCC Council, where we work for other areas in the professional licensing and so on. And recently we have signed also contracts to get approved by the ISQA, which is the International Quality Society, which is going to recognize NHRA as an accrediting body.
That's amazing, because especially during the last 2 years, we've seen that the NHRA had a very big hand in progressing the healthcare sector in Bahrain, specifically during the pandemic, and putting new regulations when the whole world didn't know what to do. The health institutions in Bahrain did put themselves together and put policies that did work for us. How do you value the recognition, the international recognition, that Bahrain is a template to be followed in countries that have similar issues or have similar terrains?
True. I think one of the major thing is that when you look at any country, you see whether they have developed clearly their laws and regulations and policies, and all our regulations as policies follow international standards. We make sure that it is the same. So, you know, when international companies come to Bahrain, they will see that when they apply to US FDA or to UK MHRA or to Europe Emma, they understand it's the same thing that we follow. Of course, the accreditation program for hospitals, which has the main aim of improving the quality of services, we got 2 awards for it, recognized nationally by the government of Bahrain, the best practice, and then by the Minipar Institute for the Middle East and North Africa. We were also awarded for it an award for the best government practices. Now, this really reflected how we attempt to improve the performance of facilities. We've been implementing this since 2017, and for every 3 years we re-accredit the hospitals, and we could see the improvement in the hospitals where they shift from just having the gold award to getting the platinum award or the diamond award, which really reflects that there are policies in place, there is well governance in the facility, they maintain infection control, they maintain safety of the patient and proper waste management, which at the end will reflect the quality of services given to the patient.
Honestly, being part of institutions, healthcare institutions in Bahrain as well, it gives a lot of motivation to staff because they feel that there is a system that backs them up for what they are doing and what they're, and the education also plays a role in this. There are certain standards and regulations that are followed, and there's also the education given to us as healthcare providers to complete this circle. Regarding, we would actually first off, we would like to congratulate you on being honored by the International Data Cooperation in the category of business leaders and chief executives in the Middle East who influenced the culture of business and work environment and also supported digital shift. How do you value this personal recognition to yourself?
Well, I'm honored, not at the personal level, but I feel I represent my country in this. First of all, this occasion was directed to women in the business field, and being selected as the CEO catalyst among 50 other members in other countries. Really, it's something I'm proud of, because this reflects how we work and improve the services, and how, as you mentioned in the beginning, with no regulation and no regulatory body at all, a small office to become a full authority, and it's well run. That was a great achievement, and it shows to the world what we are doing. And of course, the second area in this conference was digitalization, and this is where we want to move. My plan for the next coming 3 years is to have full automation for NHRA.
Right, that's amazing.
Businesses.
I mean, healthcare in general is being digitalized, so it just makes sense that the regulatory authority as well. How do you feel, how do you see the direction of this digitalization, how the process of it?
Okay, let me tell you first something we achieved even before COVID, and it really showed how important it is, where we give the first telemedicine licensing to a number of facilities, and it turned out to be very important for the people during the peak of the pandemic, where they cannot reach healthcare. It was very important that we establish those regulations, and we work with the IGA on the security requirements and so on. Teleradiology was also the second thing that we work with. So in terms of regulation, we regulated the digitalization of the health sector. Also in terms of using applications like the watches that really measures your ECG and blood pressure, the heartbeat and so on. The plan for us now is to move into digitalizing all our services. So very soon we'll be launching 2 projects. The first one is called Munshaat, that will be related to facilitating the licensing and the renewal of healthcare facilities. So every facility is going to have their own account, and all the information for the facility will be there, even reminding them of the next licensing time before they get penalized for it. All the professional information, the services there, the inspection reports, violations if corrected or not. The second program will be called Mehan, and that's where all the professionals will be able to license, renew their license, recategorize their license, all through an online system. So this is great, and we are now working, of course, with the Supreme Council on the drug utilization review system, which all the importation of medications through that.
Yeah.
And there is another program very important for the Kingdom of Bahrain. It's the track and trace of medications. So we will be knowing each medication imported to Bahrain from the manufacturer to the patient.
Yes.
We know where the medication moved, if there is enough storage in the country or not, and if there is a recall for any medication, then we know to whom it went and how to request to recall it in case the company or the manufacturer decided to recall because of some faults in the manufacturing.
Absolutely. There have actually been a couple of times where there were actual announcements, and there was a very nice awareness campaign that made it easier for the consumer to understand why this is happening. What can you tell us about the NHRA's main achievements, and how do you value the international recognition towards them?
Yeah, I think the most important achievement is we put all the regulation into place. Yeah, where you any investor or healthcare professional or a facility, when they ask a question about what's our responsibility and what violation we conducted, everything is there, regulation, because this is the infrastructure for any regulator. Yes. We cannot walk by our own opinions. We have to have a solid law. So everything is regulated. Yeah. When you visit our webpage under the legal department, you will find all the regulation translated to English as well, related to professionals, to facilities, to medications. Yes. So this is very important for us. The second achievement we have is to improve our organizational structure and added sections like the medical device safety section, which is very important, the accreditation as well. And I think the accreditation program that we won the 2 awards is the most important recognition we had, because this is very unique, and that it is under the regulator. Usually it is a kind of separate entity, bodies like the American or the Australian that provide this as international, but now we have our own national standards that the facilities find them very suitable, and they follow the international standards. So we are very much happy with our achievement in accrediting facilities, because this is the only way that you can conduct a peer review and surveyor review to see the quality of services provided in those facilities.
Absolutely. I mean, as part of the execution or the accreditation of institutions like that is also pinpointing certain services like safety officers, CSSD professionals, and providing the certifications for these people, international certifications like USHA and other certificates, and these are all provided through the NHRA.
Before we established this, some of the facilities did not have an infection control officer, quality officer, as you said, CSSD officer. These are very important, and they didn't have policies in place, so the staff, when a medical error happens, at least they are supported by the policy that was there. So I think this is the improvement. They found it difficult at the beginning and tough, but they realize how important it is when we start implementing it, and they see the success when they get they awarded.
Yes, especially with the quality management and root cause analysis of problems, and then learning from these mistakes and fixing them in the future. Well, after years of dedicated efforts, how does the NHRA assess its constant success, and what are the procedures taken to ensure this stays sustainable, or this is sustainable?
So in order to assess our success, the feedback we get from our stakeholders is very important. So we work very closely with the private hospital society, the private facility owners society. We even formulated committees where medical engineers from the private sector set before we develop any regulation to consult them. So we have very close monitoring, and we did some improvement. We listened to the feedback from what we call them the customer or our stakeholder, because they are our partners. And we have really modified a lot of regulations when we found that yes, it is according to the international regulation, but it does not apply at the national level, and we have to really improve it. So I find that the success we did is the reputation we gain in the society, the trust of the society, that when they have a complaint to raise, they have any notice to raise attention to us. So we receive a lot of feedback also from Tawasul application from the government. And we have been awarded by the government in 2020 among 20 facilities in Bahrain the best award for the best communication with the society and the customers. So this is an important achievement for us. The second thing we are looking for is really to, as I told you, we want to automate all our services and make the life of the customers easy. COVID-19 had taught us a lot when we had to close the NHRA in front of customers, or the non-vaccinated cannot attend. If everything was there put on online, then it will be easy for professionals instead of leaving their facilities and coming. So automation of all the services and getting the international recognition. This is very important. We are seeking ISO with the help of the Civil Service Bureau in Bahrain, and then the ISQA international recognition for us as an accrediting body.
Yes. All of these things have been known for many years, but recently, as you said, the society has recognized Nahra more and has trusted it because they feel safe when something is Nahra accredited, or a person is Nahra accredited or licensed. Then there is that huge trust, and you guys made people aware about the standards that you have implemented through social media, through different media entities. So modern means of social media have actually facilitated direct communication with this target audience, whether it is the nurses or the doctors or the healthcare workers that you want to license, or it is the client, the patients, as we call them clients, that want to know, is this hospital, is this medical institution, is this doctor accredited? So how does NHRA make use of these modern social media means?
Of course, we have our own Instagram and Twitter, and we use it to publish any announcement we want to do that. But we really use the Instagram to monitor the health sector as well. When we see that there is an ad from any facilities, we monitor whether that ad has true value to the patient, not only announcing cheap services. Is there anything else behind it? Whether the facility who announced this advertisement, are they permitted to practice it or not? Is the person who's announced that they will do it licensed by NHRA? So we monitor the ads as well, and we monitor the comments of the customers or patients or whoever there directly, centrally from my office. They monitor any comments and we respond to them directly. At the same time, or we help them to get what they want. For some of them might say that some medication, I cannot find it anywhere. We can help them with that as well. Or if they think they have a medical error complaint, we can guide them to come to report it to NHRA. So I think the social media is very, very important to us to deliver our goals and to listen back to the customers what they think about us.
Right. Well, the NHRA doesn't stop here. It has a lot of things that are coming up. You've mentioned some of them. But can you talk to us about the future plans and upcoming projects that are being prepared by Nahra?
So the most important thing, I think they are all IT projects, mainly. So the Munsha'at, Mehen, for the licensing of facilities and professionals, track and trace of medication are very, very important thing. We will also have a special applications for our inspectors where they can use this application when they inspect the facilities. They report their findings, they even take pictures and send them. So the head of section can monitor the inspectors as well. So this application is going to be very important. And the second important thing is reviewing the current laws with the legislative authorities here, like the Shura Council or Parliament. We are now looking at the professionals law and the facilities, private facility law, to see if things need to be updated and to work with them on the regulation, because we are a regulator and we need updated regulations. So the regulations, the applications, I mean the digital application that we have, and also improving our organization structure, adding more manpower, so we'll be able to respond to the increase in the health sector, number and professionals and so on.
Well, before we end today's show, my last question to you is, where do you see the future of healthcare regulation in Bahrain, the next 5 years, let's say? Where do you see it going? Where do you wish to see it going? And how do we achieve that?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say to our audience that we are at NHRA the responsible body to take care of you in terms of making sure that professionals you're visiting are really qualified, licensed according to their professions. We make sure the medication you are using is not counterfeit, it's true original medications and medical devices. We are ensuring you that when you visit a facility, that facility is according to the standards that we want to look at in terms of the safety for you. So I would when I read sometimes in the press, they say the watchdog NHRA did so and so, and I say no, we are the guardian angel.
Yes, exactly.
So that's how I look at our role, and that's how I look at tell my team that when you come from home driving your car to your work, it's not any ordinary work. You are keeping and maintaining the safety of patients, when our clients, when they use the healthcare system. Now, the next role that was going to be a bit changing in NHRA when the Supreme Council of Health will implement the social health insurance, where there will be an extra responsibility for us to monitor that health insurance contracts are accurate and patients are really receiving services according to what's contracted, and we make sure that healthcare facilities are providing the coverage required by the health insurance. That's a new role that's going to be implemented for us in the next coming years as part of the universal health coverage system that Bahrain is developing.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today and answering all of our questions, and we hope to do another take on the NHRA after a lot of these projects have been implemented.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear viewers, for watching us. We will see you next week in another episode of Inside Edition.